welcome to a special Bruery Society Beers episode of Brutal Battle. Yes, so I'm continuing to do this on solo, and I have some more beers in front of me. I'm doing my first portion as just two of these beers. I'll probably do the second portion as another two of the brewery beers. And the two I have right now are both from 2019, so not like archived or, aged in my cellar or anything. So with the first two beers, it takes me to something I want to talk about having to do with the brewery, and specifically a lot of beers I end up getting through their society. So they happen to do a lot of beers I noticed that are based off of food items or like alcoholic beverages, like mixed drinks and stuff like that. And I find that very, very interesting. I find it very fun because it's two things. It's one, it's cool to get something and have an idea of what the flavor is supposed to be like. Like if they say, let's use an example from the last one of these episodes, episode 4 of the Bruery Society beers I did. They did that Hold the Spoon, which is supposed to be like a peanut butter chocolate chip ice cream, basically, in collaboration with Jenny's. So it gives you an idea going into it. This is supposed to taste like peanut butter and chocolate ice cream. So it's a good way to kind of signal how it's supposed to be. Now, it's then very interesting to see how it's actually executed. Did they do a good job representing that? Does it actually come across that way? Which, with the Hold the Spoon, obviously, I really felt like it represented that ice cream in a beer form really well, except for the alcohol level a little bit. But, it's just really cool. And I think that shows a really high level of creativity, experimentation, and skill with the brewery, because here you have people who are looking for inspiration and then saying, here's a product that already exists. Here's a food or a mixed drink that already exists. How do we duplicate those flavors? How do we construct a beer that still is a beer and still tastes like a beer, yet is a derivative of that item? And I always find that really cool. I think it's a kind of a gutsy thing to do because it can really set you up for failure, in my opinion, because people will have very specific ideas of how that's supposed to taste and smell in addition to that. So, just my thoughts on it. Anyway, let's jump into the first beer, that being said. Now, this one, I believe, is supposed to be kind of based off, it's definitely a mixed drink. I think it's like a Tom Collins, which I've never had before. But this is their beer called Sourento, and it is a sour blonde ale aged in oak barrels with lemon zest and vanilla beans, and it is 6%. Now, this is done, obviously, by their sour arm, Bruery Society, but, same main company, as we all know. Let's get this going. 16-ounce can. I can already smell it as I'm pouring it. Smelling nice. Pouring nice. Alright, let's take a look. Now, with their sours in general, they usually have a pretty high level of sourness. I pretty much never find that their, quote, sour beers are tart, even when there are times where they say that the beer in the description is supposed to be tart. It's never tart. It's always in the sour range. They go heavier on the souring. So just know that going into, any of their sour or tart beers, you might need to know that. Just saying. Anyway, it looks pretty clear. It's orangey yellow, more orange than yellow. It's got a bit of a head to it, a mix of like some small bubbles and some large bubbles. Ooh, it smells very lemony. Or I'm sorry. Oh, yes, it is lemon zest. Okay, I'm right. Yeah, it smells very, very lemony. Oddly enough, there's almost a little bit of a pencil shaving smell on the nose. I've gotten this like one other time with one of their sour beers. I don't know why that is. Do I smell the vanilla? I'm trying to see. I don't really smell the vanilla, and the main reason for that is that the sourness hitting my nose and that lemon zest in there is so strong and so pronounced. Yeah, I mean, it smells like it's smooth, but I can't smell the vanilla. I just smell lemon and a little bit of bitterness that lets me know, oh, okay, that is lemon zest. Makes sense. I mean, that's kind of all I can say about the nose, so let me go in for it. Okay. So it's definitely smoother than you would think based off the sourness you get in your nose. So when you first take the sip, it hits you really hard with a lemon sourness, but then it starts to back down relatively quickly. And then I do get the vanilla finish on the end, and it's creamy. And I think that's one of the great things about the vanilla in this is that it allows the lemon to hit with a sourness real quick, but then it kind of like mellows it out. Ooh, this beer is good. Yeah, on my second sip, it's starting to, as my palate gets used to the sourness, it's starting to bring the vanilla and the lemon a little bit closer to the same level. And on my third sip, it hasn't changed much from my second sip. Let me go number 4 and see. Yeah, that's good. Man, that's tasty. Yeah, so there's a decent amount of sourness to it, and at a low level, it kind of persists. But like I said, it's that more aggressive hit of it up front, and then the vanilla comes in and really works to downplay it after that. So it's like a low level of sourness sitting on your tongue. But I am getting the vanilla. I could not get it in the smell, but I definitely get it in the flavor. And the mixture of the vanilla with the lemon is just really nice. Let me take one more sip and see what I think about level of bitterness. There's a slight bitterness on there, which, makes sense with the lemon zest, but I don't really taste it a whole lot. And I guess I could say there's a little bit of like that pencil shaving in the flavor. It's very much just at the very end, and it's very, very slight. So not really a problem. That's good beer. I really like the use of vanilla in that beer. It's a good one. I'm a fan of that. Very nice. Sorry, rinsing my glass. I just drank the water that I put in there. Okay, so like I said, the next one is also based off an item. The first one, obviously, that Sourento is based on a mixed drink. Like I said, I believe is Tom Collins. Let me know if you think I'm wrong, or if you can verify if I'm wrong. brutalbattlepodcast@gmail.com. So this next one is actually based on Black Forest cake. It sounds really good. Let me see if I can actually pronounce what this is supposed to say. Geburtstagskrantz? Geburtstagskrantz? I'm going to spell it out and see if you can stick with me on this. Geburtstagskrantz. It's a long name. They should just simplify it to Geburts. That'd be much better. I don't know what that means in German. I don't know. Is that Black Forest cake? I don't know. Maybe. So it's an imperial stout aged in bourbon barrels with vanilla, cacao nibs, and tart cherries added. And it is 9.5% alcohol. Also in a 16-ounce can. Because like I said in the last episode, when I can get them in 16-ounce cans, that's how I'm doing it. Go. Let's see how this sucker is. Now, it'll be interesting because since it has tart cherries in it, I'll be interested to see if maybe my perception of the tart cherries is kind of low because of the sourness that I got from the Sourento. All right. So what does it look like? Oh my gosh, it looks like an imperial stout. It's got a decent amount of head to it. It looks very creamy, frothy head there. Very interesting. And yeah, can't see through it. It looks like an imperial stout. Let me smell it. Ooh, the cacao nibs are very strong in there. I like that. That's nice. The vanilla is really jumping out as well. Okay, so this is quite interesting in my opinion. Because as far as the brewery's barrel-aged beers go, I can always smell the bourbon. And the bourbon is always very, very strong in the smell. Okay, let me collect my thoughts. This is probably the first barrel-aged beer by them that I've had that is this low of a perception of the bourbon barrel on the nose, which is really interesting to me. It smells very chocolatey and very vanilla-y. I don't smell any cherry, but that's just because it's like it's such rich chocolate. It does kind of smell like brownies, or in this instance, like chocolate cake. It really smells like chocolate cake, and that vanilla is kind of helping that nose along. Ooh, man, it smells really good. Yeah, it's just like chocolate and vanilla, and there's a little bit of like a roasty coffee note on the finish, actually. But I don't smell the cherry, which is weird. All right, I'm going to go in and try it. Ooh, oh my gosh. Oh, this is so chocolatey. It's so chocolatey. It's very decadent. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's chocolatey cake-like. It's got like a creamy mouthfeel to it. I think the vanilla's kind of making that happen. It's like nice milky chocolate with a very nice level of vanilla. I am tasting the bourbon in there. I'm getting that bourbon barrel character, but it's low. Like in the nose, it's pretty low. I need another sip. It's very creamy. The chocolate's really nice. And I am getting a roastiness on the finish, like a little bit of like a coffee roastiness. Yeah, that's good. This is really good. Okay, and now I'm starting to get the cherry. Now this is the thing. I'm very finicky about cherries. I'm not a big cherry fan, and especially with like cherry flavor in beer. But I'll tell you, the perception of the cherry in this is very low. It's like a nice little accent that shows up, and it carries through each sip after your first few sips, and just kind of like sits on top lightly of that chocolate and vanilla. It's very good. It literally is like the cherries that just get placed on top of the Black Forest cake. So I wasn't sure I was going to be a fan of this beer, going into it, I'm like, it's the brewery. They always do a good job. So I was assuming I would like it, but not like really like it because of the tart cherry addition. But it's at such a nice, appropriate level for what else is going on in this beer that I really like it. I think it really is doing a good job. I'm surprised. I'm very surprised. I love how dessert-like and decadent and chocolatey this beer is, and that vanilla is coming through so well. It's really good. Yeah, I really like this one. I like both of these at the moment. So let's go ahead and see what number 3 has in store for us then. And actually, before I get to this third one, I do want to say that I'm recording this on a separate day and then mashing this together. The Geburtstagkrantz, I'm sorry, it's hard to say, and the Sorrento I did on one day, and then I'm going to do these last two on another day. As I continued to sip that Geburtstagkrantz, it got even better as it warmed up more. Same thing with the Sorrento, actually, and that pencil shaving thing kind of went away a little bit with the Sorrento as it got warmer. But the Geburtstagkrantz, I feel like I got more of the cherry as it warmed up, and I was enjoying that. That was a cool thing. So just wanted to throw that out there. Now, keeping with the theme, like I said, we were going to have for this of these beers trying to emulate something else, like a food or something like that. In the case of Sorrento, a drink, a mixed drink. Actually, it's 3 of them are supposed to be baked goods, and then there's that drink one. So the last 2 will be based on baked goods. So this one, I'm not sure about this one. I wanted to get it not because I had interest in it, but because I thought it would be interesting to do on an episode like this. And the reason being one of these flavors I'm not huge on in this, but who knows? I've been surprised before. Yeah. So this is from their bakery lineup. This is only the second one they've put out. Just so people know, the bakery lineup is basically imperial stout aged in bourbon barrels, and then they do some things to it to make it taste like some sort of baked item. The first one they had done was coconut macaroon, I believe, and that one was tasty. I don't think I've done that on the show. I don't think we did that. Oh no, I did actually for a food and no, it was the infusion one, I believe it was, where I infused tea, beer with tea. But anyway, so this is the second in that lineup. It's called Banana Bread. It is the bakery banana bread. It's a blended imperial stout aged in bourbon barrels with walnut, banana, and natural flavor added. And it is 10.2%. So for one of their barrel-aged beers, it's very manageable on the ABV. And actually, the Gewürztraminer was also at 9.5. So very nice. I'm a little bit worried about this because I don't really like banana or banana flavor. I like actual bananas, and I will eat actual bananas, but I usually don't like banana in things or banana flavoring. So that's a disclaimer. Here we go. So I'll try to, evaluate it as best I can from the standpoint of I don't like this, but I think it's done well, or I don't like this and I don't think it's done well, or I don't know, maybe I'll be surprised. I don't know. So as I poured it, it's got a really creamy, large head that appeared on it. It poured super creamy. I really liked the look of it. I was definitely smelling like a chocolate and a cinnamon as it was going right into the glass. I felt like maybe I was getting a little bit of vanilla, but let me get in. I mean, it looks like an imperial stout. There's not much difference on the look except for that nice creamy tan, really tan head. All right, let's sniff on this. I get a lot of like a cinnamon. Oh, there's the banana. The banana's peeking through now. So I got a lot of the cinnamon initially and a little bit of a chocolatiness, and then the banana jumped in on like my second or third sniff. Do I smell walnut? That's what I'm trying to figure out. It is still a tad bit cold too, so I'm trying to kind of swirl it up with my hands around it. I don't know if that's going to make enough of a difference, but yeah, I am getting the banana, but I will say the banana is actually at a level that I feel like I don't mind it. If it's at that level in the taste, I might not mind it, especially because it seems like the cinnamon, or maybe even kind of like a clove, like cinnamon clove combo is kind of above it. I mean, it smells pretty good. It's very smooth. It smells like all the notes on this, all the different flavor notes in the nose are well folded together. And, I would say that it actually smells like fresh baked banana bread, but with a little bit of chocolate to it. And I am familiar with that smell. My mom, as people know if you listen to this podcast enough, she was on an episode, and she's a very good cook, a very good baker. So she used to make fresh banana bread when I was younger. So, and actually that's banana bread I actually would eat. Other than that, I don't really eat banana bread. But she did a really good job, and it kind of smells a little bit like that. So, going in. So I will say off the bat, something that hits me is that the body is thinner than I expected. But at the same time, I feel like I get a tannic feel in my mouth. You know how when you bite into a banana and it has like some strings on it left over from the peel, you get that kind of like bitter tannic. It's a flavor, but it's also a texture. I feel like I get a little bit of that texture. And a little bit of that tannic flavor as well, to be honest, to go with the bitterness. I feel like I can taste the walnut a little bit. There is the chocolate in there. I do taste those spices. Really trying to suss this out. It's definitely a lot thinner than I thought it was going to be for an imperial stout, though. Yeah. So it... Oh, and now, actually, as I sip without taking another sip, I get a little bit of like a coffee roast on the very, very end. I'm not super wild about this at the moment, at least at the temperature that it's at. And then there, one bigger sip. I mean, I taste a little bit of the banana. It's very, very low. I taste some of that kind of like cinnamon clove. That is also relatively low. There's a decent bitterness on the end, and I think that's part of what's throwing me off. So between that like more pronounced bitterness in conjunction with the kind of how thin the body actually is, it's kind of for me. Yeah. Although I will say those like chocolatey notes on the end are nice, and that little bit of that kind of coffee roastiness that's coming through at the end, That is also nice. I like those two things about it. So I don't dislike this beer. I just don't like it all that much. And in comparison to the two beers we already had, I don't like it nearly as much as those two. So, well, people can figure out where that's going to be in my rankings. And that's not going to make the top 5, as people would probably guess. Okay, so let's leave that one. Not a huge fan. And let's see if we can end on a high note. This one I'm pretty interested in. Rebecca is as well, and she'll be drinking these with me later. This is their muffin stuffing. Oh, and if you couldn't tell, I'm sure you could tell by the sound, Banana Bread Bakery was in a 16-ounce can. All these are in 16-ounce cans. So is the muffin stuffing. Muffin stuffing is also 10.5% alcohol. It is an imperial stout with blueberry, vanilla, and cinnamon. This sounds like it could be a wonderful combination of flavors and smells. Let's get into this bad boy. Now, I'm hoping this one doesn't have... Ooh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. I cannot tell... Like, as soon as I tipped that can to start pouring it into the glass, I got a waft of blueberry that just flew over to my nose. And, like, I was pouring it a good foot and a half from my face. And yeah, that blueberry just wafted right over. That is good. This also has a pretty pronounced head to it, even darker than the banana bread one. And the bubbles are larger on the top. Interesting. Ooh, oh my gosh. So much blueberry in that nose. It's ridiculous. I definitely get the cinnamon though a lot. That it's under the blueberry. The blueberry is very, very dominant in the smell, but then right under it, if you keep sniffing, you get the cinnamon coming through as well. It's just at a much lower level than the blueberry, which I'm okay with, because with something like this, when it's supposed to be like a blueberry muffin, you really want that blueberry to come through. Ooh, that's a very nice smell, I gotta be honest. Can't say that I smell the vanilla, although that may be kind of like rounding things out on the end and kind of getting lost in the cinnamon. Ooh, it's just so much. It's just like blueberry and cinnamon mainly. So let me go in for a taste. Oh, whoa. Okay. It almost, like, because of the kind of tartness from the blueberry, sweetness and tartness from the blueberry, it almost comes off as a little bit effervescent on the tongue because it kind of tingles a little bit because that slight blueberry tartness. Is it actual blueberries? Blueberry. It says blueberry, but I don't know if I don't think it's actual blueberries. I think it's a flavoring, because it kind of comes off a little bit like a flavoring. To be honest, it's a little bit fragrance-like. Like, how the blueberry is, the level it's at, and what it's like, it's almost like if you go to like a Bed Bath & Beyond and you're smelling a blueberry like soap that they have there. It's kind of like that. And you know how sometimes when you take like a really deep sniff of something that's really fragrant, you can kind of taste it too? It's like that. So for that reason, it's starting to be a little bit perfumey to me, and I don't really like that. So I like my initial sip of it, but then I don't know. I need to try this a little bit more. Okay. So as I keep going, the blueberry is settling down a little bit, and the cinnamon is starting to come up some. So I am liking that. And I am actually getting a little bit of the vanilla coming up behind the cinnamon, and that is good. So it seems like, to a degree, as you keep sipping, the ship is starting to right itself a little bit with the flavors, to be honest. Although there is a kind of a weird astringency in the finish. I wonder if that'll kind of go away as it warms up even more. I don't know. But that blueberry coming off as kind of like a fragrance, that's something that's throwing me off a little bit with this beer. I don't dislike it, and like I said, as I continue to sip it, it's starting to, make that blueberry more tolerable, but it's not my favorite. I do like it more than the banana bread, though. So I can easily, real quick, give my ranking for this episode. So my number 4 you all know. It's the Bakery Banana Bread. That's the blended Imperial Stout, aged in bourbon barrels with walnut, banana, and natural flavor added. My number 3 is going to be the Muffin Stuffin', the Imperial Stout with blueberry, vanilla, and cinnamon. My number 2 is the Sourento, sour blonde ale aged in oak barrels with lemon zest and vanilla beans. And my number 1, you guessed it, Gewürztraminer, Imperial Stout aged in bourbon barrels with vanilla, cacao nibs, and tart cherries added. I had a lot of trepidation about this particular beer, the number 1 beer, because my thing about cherries, I'm not huge on that, but hey, they did it so well. It's blended perfectly. It is a very nice beer, and I'm very glad I have another one of those. Actually, I have another one of the top 3. Actually, I have 2 of the Sourento, but another one of the Muffin Stuffin' and then the Gewürztraminer. Oh, geez. It's so hard to say. Sorry. Okay, so now let me go ahead. I'm going to pause for a second and come right back, and I will give you the top 5. Actually, you know what? None of these break the top 5, so I don't even need to do that. So let me just go ahead and tell you right now. I actually am putting the Gewürztraminer at number 6, so it is right outside of the top 5. But here we go. My number 5 is the Icky Thump, the Imperial Stout with coffee. My number 4 is the Ada Boysenberry, the bourbon barrel-aged barley wine with boysenberry and vanilla. My number 3 is the S'more Bubbles, sour stout and imperial stout aged in bourbon barrels with marshmallow, cacao, graham cracker, and vanilla. My number 2 is regular So Happens It's Tuesday, which is just a bourbon barrel-aged imperial stout. And my number 1 overall for all these episodes is the Wee Heavy Coconuts, which is a bourbon barrel-aged Scotch Wee Heavy with toasted coconut, walnuts, and cinnamon. Sadly, I don't have more of any of those in the top 5. Oh, except the Icky Thump I have 1 more of, and the S'more Bubbles and the So Happens It's Tuesday I have more of. But it's sad because I don't have more of the Wee Heavy Coconuts, and I don't have more of the Ada Boysenberry. Because both of those I was very much like with a few of these beers. I don't know if I'm going to like those flavors. I don't know if it's going to be my thing. But if they get rebrewed, I'm on it. I will be doing that. So anyway, thank you everyone for checking this out. I really appreciate it. Please give me some feedback on this. If there are any society beers that you're aware of out there that you want me to get my hands on and do on one of these episodes, please feel free to let me know. You can email brutalbattlepodcast@gmail.com. Another thing is, I really want to say, please help me out. Go on to iTunes, rate and review, or whatever podcatcher you use to listen to the podcast. Rate it, review it, however you're able to, because it really can help with visibility. And tell some people about it, because word of mouth is the best way. But thank you everyone for checking this out, and until next time, keep it brutal.
This has been a Nerd Circle podcast production.